Alright guys, how you doing? It's Rabea, hope you're all good. So hopefully you can tell by the title of this video, we're talking about guitar mods. And we're specifically looking at guitar tremolo system modifications, and even more specifically, Floyd Rose modifications. Because I use guitars with Floyd Roses, and I'm sure a lot of you guys do as well. So here's 3 really easy, awesome guitar mods for your guitar that will make a huge difference. I've been doing a little bit of research about things I could do to improve the tone of my guitar. And it seems that you can actually do quite a bit without necessarily having to do anything drastic. So looking at the guitar itself and the Floyd Rose system, we can make 3 very simple, easy mods to it that will make a huge difference to the tone. For those of you who aren't overly familiar with the Floyd Rose, it is a floating tremolo system. So it's similar in the sense to a Fender trem, that it is attached with springs underneath on the back, as you can see, and you can use a whammy bar and do some cool tricks. However, the Floyd Rose took it one step further. The whole thing is floating, so it's reliant on the tension of your strings, and it's counterbalanced by the tension of the springs on the back. And so the whole plate is pivoting on these 2 pins. And that's how you can pull the whammy bar all the way back, because there's a big cavity, cut out there, and you can do loads of cool tricks. Hopefully you guys are familiar with a company called Futone. If you're not, they're a wicked company based in the US that specialise in guitar mods, all sorts of stuff. But something they're quite renowned for is Floyd Rose system modifications. So I've been speaking to the guys at Futone, and they very kindly sent me a few things over so that I could demonstrate what we can do to upgrade our Floyd Rose systems. Number 1, we're going to upgrade the sustain block. The sustain block is this chap. It's bolted to the base plate of the Floyd Rose, and you can also attach the springs to it that then attach to the claw, if that's what it's called, and that's essentially how it works. However, you can change these out, and Futone are renowned for doing some wicked sustain blocks made from all kinds of different material, but I chose brass. So they do this big chunky brass block here, and brass is quite a popular material to use because it's quite nice for resonance and sustain. So you can get these in different sizes, different thicknesses. We chose this one based on my guitar. So as you can see, there are 3 holes here, and that's where the bolts go. Underneath these saddles there'll be 3 bolts, and it's as simple as taking the saddles of the Floyd Rose off, bolting this to it, and then you attach your springs to that, and then that's as simple as it is. So we'll demonstrate that. The next mod is I have these. These are 2 tremolo springs, so much like the ones in the back, these 3. These are extra strong, and also they've got a special coating on them that makes them silent. Because one of the things you may have noticed, and some of you guys may already do it, is I've got foam underneath my springs to stop it from making a lot of noise when I'm messing with the whammy, or I hit too hard against the strings. You get a little bit of weird spring rattly sound, especially if you use a lot of gain. So these are designed for that purpose, so that you don't get any kind of horrible spring ring or anything like that. The 3rd modification is a little bit more, I suppose, involved, in the sense that I'm actually going to be drilling a hole into the guitar, but it's really not that difficult. And what I'm going to be doing is blocking off the tremolo. And some people may say, oh no, you can't do any Floyd tricks. Well, what's cool about this one is it's a really simple design, and what it allows me to do is to set my trem how I like it, and I can still use it for a little bit of vibrato or anything like that, or you can just uninstall it if you want to. What it is it's a trem setter in a nutshell. There's a little L-shaped brass block here. It's so simple. If you snap a string with the Floyd Rose, as we all know, is one of the scariest things. If you snap a string, you ain't going to go out of tune, and it'll be a lot easier to change it in and out. And just all around a safer situation, especially if you gig a lot. The main reason I wanted to upgrade my guitar parts, especially for the tremolo system, is that I don't really use my Floyd Rose on this guitar anymore. I write Toska material and Dorje material with this guitar, and it's got 60 gauge strings on the bottom, so it really isn't really the kind of guitar that I want to use Floyd for, especially whammy bar tricks. So I'm perfectly comfortable with blocking off this trem and going forward with it as more of a hardtail style guitar with a little bit of leeway with the trem. So how much of a difference will it actually make? Well, when we've done the modifications, I'm going to be playing through the guitar before I did them and through the guitar afterwards. And these are a new set of strings. These are NYXL Didarios, and I've got another pack here that I'm going to string the guitar up with afterwards, so that you can hear back to back if it makes any difference whatsoever. So firstly, the tools that you're going to need to do this job are a set of Allen keys, the right size that you can actually loosen the things on a Floyd Rose. You need a string winder, a string clipper or whatever. You need a screwdriver, and then also you can choose how you want to block off your trem when you take the strings off. Piece of wood, rubber, whammy bar, whatever you're most comfortable with. And then the first thing we're going to do is put the brass block on. So what I'm going to do is take all the strings off, take the saddles out, and then I'm going to go ahead and swap out the sustain block. As you can see, I've wedged a screwdriver into the Floyd Rose here, just a rubber end, and it just makes it really easy to change out the strings. Next, I'm going to take all the strings off the guitar. Please excuse me while I speed up this process, otherwise this video will take hours. Right, I've taken all the strings off, so now the next thing I need to do is remove the Floyd Rose completely. So there you go, there's the Floyd Rose. As you can see, that's the sustain block that we're going to be swapping out. So what I need to do is I need to remove the saddles so that I can get to the screws underneath there and remove the sustain block completely. Another thing that's really important to do is to make sure you line up your saddles in the right order for when you put them back on, because there are specific sizes for specific strings. If you get it wrong, your guitar won't be able to be intonated properly, or the action won't be able to be set properly either. Okay, hopefully you can see there are 3 Allen bolts here. Sometimes there'll be Phillips screws, but these are Allen bolts. So what I'm going to do is loosen them, take this off, and then swap over to the brass block. Okay, so I've fitted the brass block to the trem, and I've put the saddles back on roughly with the intonation I had before, but obviously that's going to change when we restring. But you may have noticed I've got a close-up cam now, because at this point we can reinstall the trem. We can actually then go ahead and fit the silencer springs, and then finally we can install the brass trem stopper. The trick with this is that I need to actually put the Floyd Rose, reinstall it with the strings and everything back on the guitar before I install this, because we have to be able to sit it in the right place. Hopefully you can see on the close-up cam now, it has to go on the back of the guitar, right up against the edge of the cavity. When the Floyd Rose is fitted, you actually have this little black grub screw that goes in, and it stops against the brass block, allowing you to still dive with the whammy bar, but it doesn't allow you to pull back. So that's really cool. So I need to go ahead and restring the guitar, and then we'll finally do the trem stopper. Okay, so I've restrung the guitar, and you can see the brass block and the silence springs are in the back, and it looks awesome already. I'm well excited about it, but I'm going to now fit the trem stopper. So for fitting the trem stopper, you can use a drill or a screwdriver if you've got a strong hand, and essentially you don't have to restring the guitar first, but I wanted to because I've got my tension set up right how I want it for the strings and the springs. So now I can kind of adjust it to taste. So the idea is I'm going to install it now. You can see on the close-up cam how I'm going to do it, and it's really easy. You literally get in the pack when you buy the trem stopper, you get the little brass trem stopper there, and you get 2 little screws like this that you can see on the close-up cam there, and you get this little black grub screw that sets where the trem will stop, and then also you've got this little nut here for extra stability. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to put the brass stopper just on the inside of that cavity there, so you can see whereabouts it's sitting. It's right up at the edge of the cavity. And now if you were a precision handyman, then you may like get a bit of marker and like line up where you want your holes to go. I'm not, so I like to do things a little bit bodged, just because it's easier for me, and also I enjoy successfully bodging something. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead, get a screwdriver, and I'm going to start screwing this trem stopper in. So here we go. Okay, so I've got my first grub screw in. I'm going to get the second one in now. Okay, so now you can see I've got the trem stopper bracket in place, and I've got the little grub screw here. The cool thing is that it's actually got a little Allen hole in it, so you can actually tighten this up with an Allen key, which is really neat. And yeah, essentially the nut goes on this side, and I've screwed through this side and set my sort of where I want the trem to stop. Okay, so now you can see I've installed the trem stopper. The cool thing with it is obviously you've got quite a bit of leeway of where you want to bolt it to the body, and how much of the trem stopper grub bolt, this black thing here, you want to come through the other side. Now I really didn't want a lot, so I've put it quite close to the edge, and it's just touching the brass block there. So now I've added that little bolt to the other side, which means it's going to stay perfectly in place and it shouldn't really move around too much. But the cool thing is that it's so easy to install and it's so easy to take out that you can just mess around with a few different places if you want. I'm pretty happy with the setup like that now, so I'm going to give the guitar a tune and then we're going to hear it and see how it sounds. Okay, so the guitar is finished, as you can see, looking beautiful on the back. Got that big fat brass block in there, and the silence springs and the trem stopper. So now I can still pull back on the whammy bar, but it's set just right so that it's perfectly in tune how I want it to be, and there shouldn't really be any hiccups at this point now. And so now I'm just going to play and we'll A-B before and after. So here we go. Cool. I mean, it feels great. It sounds good. I mean, I think it's got more sustain. It's one of those things really hard to tell until I watch it back and I A-B before and afterwards. But I must admit, it does feel nice, and it's not a noticeable thing when you've got the trem stopper on. You really don't notice it. And I mean, if I press against it, pretty cool. I mean, it's going to stay out of my way. The whole point of doing this was so that I can play the Toska stuff and rock out really hard, and I still have some Floyd action, but really it's so that this becomes more of a hardtail beast with good sound, good sustain. And I must admit, it looks well custom and badass now, so really, really happy with it. So I'll put links in the description box below how you get to Futone. If anyone's curious what Futone stands for, it's Floyd Upgrades, but it's called Futone.com. I'll put a link in the description box to all these products. I want to say a huge thank you to Adam at Futone for sorting out this, and I'm really, really happy with the result. And I recommend it. Really straightforward, super easy upgrades to your Floyd Rose guitar, and it really does make a difference. So I highly recommend checking it out at least. So anyway, I hope you've enjoyed this video. Please like, subscribe and share, and I'll see you all very soon.